up the slides. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see a screen.
Perfect. So, for those of you that I've not introduced myself to, my name is Madison Zulowitz, and I just recently started working with Dynamics User Group, Doug. I am the new event coordinator here at Doug, so I'll be working a lot with the local meetup programs as well as the regional meetup programs and any conferences that we have. So, I'm sure you will be seeing lots of emails and my face on the calls a lot. So, nice to meet all of you face to face. And I'm just going to do a quick intro of what Doug is and what events we have coming up. So essentially, we are a free educational community that supports the Microsoft Dynamics 365, Dynamics GP, and Power Platform community with the goal of helping people excel and grow in their professional and personal careers. So the rules of engagement that we ask our members is we just ask that this time is an educational session only, and to help grow your network rather than for selling services and recruitment. We really want to stay focused on the education piece of these meetups. We have multiple different programs at Doug. So some of them that we offer is we have free online open forum discussions, we have webinars, we have local and regional meetups, as well as conferences, and we have lots of free educational videos on our YouTube as well. So if you're ever looking to just watch other meetup sessions, those get posted on our YouTube. So really great educational opportunities with Doug, and almost all of them are free, which is a added bonus. So we have our 2024 regional Doug meetups coming up, and they're a little bit larger in scope than most of our local meetups. So it's essentially just all of the local meetups in one region kind of get together for an in-person event. We have two coming up in Ohio and Texas next week, and another one for the Southeast in Tampa, Florida in September, and another one in Toronto, Canada in November. And what I think that you all will probably be the most interested in is we have our DynamicsCon Live coming up in Chicago in May of 2025. Oh, did not mean to do that. Um, so this is our largest conference of the year. We have a multi-day education sessions as well as networking opportunities. It's a really good way to meet people in the community. Like I said, networking is awesome. It's a very fun event as well. So I am very excited for that. And we are offering a 50% off discount code right now, if you all are interested in going to DynamicsCon Live. So I will send that in the chat after I'm done presenting. And it is specific to your meetup group, and we would definitely love to have you and see you there. Um, Lastly, we have our session submissions open for DynamicsCon Virtual. It is essentially the same thing as DynamicsCon Live, just in a virtual setting. So I know you are a little ways away, so this is definitely a good opportunity if you are not looking to come and travel for our in-person DynamicsCon. Um, it will be full day of education sessions. This is a free event as well, and you can submit sessions if you're interested. And you or the sessions will be chosen by our community. So essentially, they will be posted, and the community can vote on which sessions they want to hear at DynamicsCon Virtual, and that is who will be on the agenda. And we typically have about 5,000 or more community members that join our virtual event. So definitely very excited. I will go ahead and put in the chat your 50% off coupon for the Malta group. And if you all have any questions for me, feel free to ask. I'm always available to help you guys in any way. But if there are no questions for me, I'll go ahead and pass it back over to Rachel.
Okay. So I don't think we have any questions. Thank you so much, Thank you very much for the lovely presentation.
Yes,
And
of course. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so the next thing we are going to go for it's today's presentation. So today is Thursday, and seems like everybody is kind of busy today. But we are going to go ahead with this presentation with Funsho. Hi, Funsho.
Hi, good evening. It's already evening here. So good evening, everyone. So today I'll be walking us through what we call data flows. So there are several integration tools within the Power Platform, and I'll be zoning in specifically on data flows and how you can set these data flows up, because the main purpose of the data flow within the Power Platform is to enable you to be able to import data from multiple data sources. It could be on-premise data sources, it could be data sources that are in the cloud, and it could be even in any format and size. So we're going to be looking at that today as I would walk us through some of the things we need to know around limitations, the kind of access that you will be needing in order for you to be able to set up a data flow and where it can be applicable. So it is basically splitted into three portions, which is the extract, the transform, and the load. So it's an ETL tool as well. It's an ETL tool. So I'm going to proceed to share my screen. You can just give a thumbs up once you are able to confirm that you can see what I'm currently presenting. Okay, thank you very much. So this is the Power Apps portal in the Power Platform. And as we all know, it's low code environment as well. So this is the Power Apps environment. And in order for us to be able to work with data flows, part of the component you will need to utilize is going to be the data flow aspect of this entire Maker portal. So I'm going to be going to one of my very specific environment. So from the top right corner here, you can pick on any of your environment. You can have different types of environments, the dev, the sandbox, the production. So this is an environment that I've designated for demo purposes. So that's why I'm navigating to this environment. And as we all know, environments are where our component, our apps, our flows, they are all situated in an environment, okay, so that it can be easily managed. The resources like our apps, our data can be secured. We can grant access to those who we want to have access to those resources within that specified environment. So this is the environment here, and you wouldn't find it okay in the navigation on the left hand side here. I hope the resolution is fine. If you want me to zoom in, I can do that. I think I've heard few information and not complaints, but zooming in a bit. Okay, so I'm going to then expand on more right here, and here you would find data flows. Okay, you would find data flows. So if you are using the new experience, if you toggle this on new experience and you click on discover all, okay, so you need to look through each of this. So you need to scroll down and you will still find it right here. So the best thing to do is for you to pin it, okay, so that you don't have to keep going and back and forth. So this is the data flow. Now, to explain the main essence of the data flow enables you to export, transport, transform, and load data into Dataverse, okay, into Dataverse. So you have a source, data source, or a database, and you have a destination database. Okay, so you have these two types of data sources that you'll be working with, but the destination will always be Dataverse. Okay, the destination will always be Dataverse. So you are importing into Dataverse. And to get started, you can simply go to the top left corner here where you can click on New Data Flow. And in our case, I've written to ChatGPT to, Copilot, not yeah, Copilot, to provide me with a sample data, an Excel file. So we're going to be using this Excel file called the staff data Excel file. So I'm going to load it, let it come up. So we're going to be importing this sample staff data into our environment, okay, so that we can have those records to work with them. So there are two options when you're doing this, okay? You can actually perform this even if you don't go to the data flow option here. If you go to the tables, okay? But in our case, I've created a solution and I've titled the solution end of year grading, okay? I've titled it the end of year grading. So we want to calculate some grading score and important data with that regards. So while this is loading, okay, so it's done loading. So this is the solution that I've created. And as we know, solution helps us to be able to easily transport our resources from one environment to another. So here is the solution I've created, end of year grading solution. It comprises of applications and some Dataverse tables, okay? Applications and some Dataverse tables. Okay. Let me duplicate tabs. Okay, so this is what we currently have in our solution. So we have the application, which is a model-driven application in this case. And the model-driven application is going to be the application that the admins, okay, that will be reviewing these gradings will be using. So there is a model-driven application here, end of the year grading application. So I'm going to play it. So it can be on the go because we would go and look into it to find some of our data. Okay, back to our solution. Then we have some tables right here. So the grading are going to be based on some certain areas in the life cycle or in the fiscal year of that particular organization. And we have things like communications, we have collaborations. So we're going to be grading users in all of those perspectives. So, but we need some data to work with. So we'll be importing some staff data. And here we have the staff tables that have been created for us to use. And I will also show us some options we have when we are working with the data flow to import, okay? Because at the point of importing, you have the option to either create the table at the point of import, or you have the option to load those data into an existing table. So I'll be showing you those options as well. So we have the staff table in here that would hold the staff's data. Okay. Oh, it wants me to sign in. Yep, this one. Okay, come on, come on. So I want us to see the columns that we have. Okay, so we have some set of columns in here. And the columns that do not exist, we would create them. So we have columns for final rating, final score, the date it was created. Some of these columns are custom columns, while some are standard. They were imported already at the point of creating the table. Then we have the name column, we have the owner, we have the owning business unit, we have the staff ID, which is an auto-generated number column. We have the staff, which is the unique ID. And then, okay, the department is not here. So let's create a new column for departments. So you can also look at the Dataverse as that central data repository where you would want your data to be stored. Okay, so we're going to be creating department. Then I'm going to what type of column do we want it to be? Should it be a number column, a date and time column, a text column? So we want it to be a text column. Okay, so we'll just leave it at single line of text, which is fine. For now, we don't need it to be required. So I'm going to save. So I think our Excel is loaded now. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so this is what we have. We have the staff name, the department, the point, and then the rating. So these are the records that we have. So to do this, we are going to open OneDrive. Okay, so we're going to be opening OneDrive, and where is that icon? OneDrive. Okay, so I'll just go to the home page rather. OneDrive. So I'm going to upload that Excel file into OneDrive. Okay, so I'll go to my files. Okay, so right here, come on. Let me add new. So I'm adding a file. So I'll simply click File, Upload. Okay, and then I'm going to pick. Where is it opened? Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Download staff data, and that's it. So it's going to then get loaded in here. So I would go back into our solution. Okay. And which other column did we not see? Just to double check one more. So we have the rating, then we have the points. Okay, we have the rating and the points. So do we have a point column and a rating column? Yes, we have rating, and we would use the score for points. Okay, but here the rating is a lookup. Okay, so we would also look at how we can troubleshoot errors when things like this happen. But I'm going to create another rating column so we can easily troubleshoot as well and not spend too much time on that. So I'm going to create a column and call it temp rating, which is temporary rating. Then let's leave it as a single line of text. Okay, this would load completely now, and let's go back to the Maker portal. So you can also create your data flow from within a solution. Okay, if you are in the all tab here, if you click on New, and you go down to More, and go down to Others. Okay, if you scroll down to the D category. So you can see data flow template. Okay, so you can also create from it, but I wouldn't create from here. I will discuss the dependencies also when we get to the ALM session of this. So I'm going to go back to the Home tab, then go back to the data flow that we pinned earlier, and I'm going to then create a new data flow. So I'm going to click on new data flow. Then here I'm going to title it staff data import. Okay. I'm going to hit the create. And here you'd see the supported data sources. There are so many of them. Okay. If we go to the view more, you will find so many of them, and they have been grouped as well. Okay. If you want to use the file option, these are the options available. If you want to connect with a database, these are the options available as well. I've integrated with SQL Server databases, even on-premise ones. Very easy to connect. Microsoft Fabric, Power Platform, Azure, some online services, and so many others. So I'll go back to file because we're using an Excel workbook. So I'm going to click on the Excel workbook, and I'm going to browse my OneDrive, which is why we first needed to upload that file into OneDrive. So I would need to authenticate, of course. So I'm going to authenticate into my OneDrive. And then it would open up for me to then select the file that I have uploaded. Okay, so here it is, staff data, and then I'm going to click select. So connection has been established. To the top, bottom right corner, I would hit next. So this then opens up the area where you can select your table. Okay, so we have one table already. You can preview the table here. So this is the table, as you can see, the sample staff name, their department, their ratings, and their points. So you click on transform data. Okay, 1 second. I'm not sure that's selected. But no worries. You can add it back if it doesn't. Okay, it did. Okay, so now this is where we then perform some transformations. Okay, so this is where we perform some transformations. So I'm just going to wait a bit, let this load. Okay, so this is the table that we found in Excel, and in that table now we have it in the data flow. We can transform it. So first of all, one of the things I usually love to do, best practice, is you rename the table. Let it be readable. So I'm going to call this staff data. Okay, and that would save. So if you need to do some transformation, okay, you can as well begin the transformation by either choosing the columns you want. In case there are more columns you need to still bring on, okay, you can bring them in. If you want to replace some values, which I'll be doing soon with the ratings side of things. Then if you want to make some other changes, you can have them done right here, or you go to transform, and then you would even have more options. Okay, if you want to pivot a column or pivot columns, count rows, perform transpose, you can do all of those right here. So I'm going to go back here, and then let's go next. So this is where we then begin to map our data. Okay, so as you can see, we already have the column mappings, and here you have either to load into a new table, okay, or to load into an existing table. And remember, we already have an existing table as shown earlier. So I'm going to click on the load existing table, and right here I'm going to scroll down to, so let me do Control F. I think that's the easiest way to search here, and I would click on I'll search for the schema name, okay, of the publisher, and I'm going to choose staff, because or else you would need to scroll very long to do that. So the department, I'm going to map my source department from the table we imported from Excel. I'm mapping it to the destination column. I'm also going to, there is no score, so I'm going to leave that as it is. There is, okay, there is score actually. point. Yeah, I said we'll use point for that. Then we have the name. So I'm going to map this to the staff name. So the staff ID number is auto-generated, so we don't need to map that. The temporary rating, I'm going to put rating. And then the total final score, I'm going to put nothing here. What else? Temp rating, I think we have 2 ratings. One of them is in here, temporary rating. Okay, the actual rating is not here. Okay, so I'm going to then click next. Okay. Now, I'll also come back to this in a bit, which is alternate keys. Very important, alternate keys. So in refreshing, you have 2 options. When it comes to refresh, you can refresh manually, which is going to be an on-demand type of refresh, where you will be the one to initiate the refresh. And you can also set it to be automated. That is, do you want it to run in an hour time or every hour, every day at a particular time? Depending on the use case that you have, you can set the frequency of the refresh. Well, I would choose the manual. And another thing you can do is you can connect your data flow to Power Automate so that it can trigger without you needing to access the data flow to trigger that data flow. Okay, maybe that will be in another discussion, but just for us to know that that is very much possible. So now I'm going to hit the publish button. And once I hit the publish button, the import begins. Okay, the import begins. So it would create the data flow. As you can see, we have the staff data import, and then we have our data flow here. So the data flow is still publishing, and once done, okay, it's going to begin executing. And you can track that from here as well. So I'm going to click on the 3 dots, and here you can, so now that this is done, you will then see it begin executing in a bit. So you can track the refresh as it is ongoing. And how do you do that? You can see it's already started. So in doing that, you can come to the show refresh history. Okay, so this is where you see all the executions. If there are errors, you find the execution errors, you find it here. Okay, and you can download them. It should be downloaded into an Excel file, and then you'll be able to see what is being or the cause of the error. So let's go back to our solution and take a look at the staff table. So the staff table here, we should be seeing some data flow through very soon. Then while that is opening, I think there is the model-driven app. Yeah. So I said we'll be looking at some of the things from the model-driven app. So we already have a simple app just to show us the data. Let me filter this. Final score rating, name, department, staff ID. Yeah, then final score. Okay, very good. So as you can see, now our records have flown through. So I'm just going to move this to the far right. Okay, so as you can see now, we have our department, we have the final score, we have the final rating, then the temporary rating that we created, you can see it here, okay? And then we'll update this column in a bit, and you would see how we're going to do that update. Then here we have the total final score. So as you can see, the data we have in the Excel table, okay, right here, all 8 of the records, we have them here. So if we go to the model-driven application, we should also see the same. I'm going to just refresh. So you can see all the records here. Now, there's something we call the alternate key. And the alternate key is for us to enforce uniqueness. Okay, to enforce uniqueness. Now, if this data flow right here is triggered again, you can see it's successful. If we trigger this data flow again, we are going to be seeing duplicate records. Okay, so I'm going to do that very briefly. So we're going to see duplicate records created, and the reason is because there were no alternate keys created to prevent that. Okay, so in order for us to prevent these kind of happenings, we need to go to the table and set our alternate key. So the alternate key is going to be more of a unique identifier that has been hashed, okay, that has some protections right behind it. So I'm going to go to the solution. I'm sure in no time we should have those happening. Just refresh. Let's see. Okay, it's still running. Okay, so it succeeded. So let's check our app again. So I'm simply going to refresh. And as you can see, the records have been duplicated. And the reason is because we do not have an alternate key. So I'm going to select, second. So I'm going to select, let me see if there's easier way to do that. Will this give me date and time? No, just date. Okay. So I'm just going to select the duplicated ones and we'll get rid of it. So the ones created at 5:34. Okay, so we're going to get rid of these ones. So while we're getting rid of that, in our solution, we are simply going to go under the keys column, and right here under the keys column, we would create an alternate key. So we'll select new key, okay? And your key can be a combination of columns, okay? So I'll just call this staff unique key. So what can we say will be different? A staff ID number will always be different because it's auto-generated, okay? And also let's use the name. So no user would have the same name and the same staff ID. Even if they have the same name, they have to have different staff IDs, okay? So we're going to use this two, and then I'll hit the save button. Okay, so it's been saved now, and then if any refresh occurs, okay, we wouldn't be seeing that kind of duplication again. And also, the only thing that can happen is there will be an upsert. That is, there will be change of, let's say, if there is a department change, those are the things that will get updated. Okay, so there wouldn't be any duplicate records being created. Okay, so we're refreshing and we'll validate that in a bit. So if there are any questions, you can simply maybe unmute your mics or even share your camera, and you can ask your questions, or you can have them in the chat as we proceed. Okay, so we'll go into a bit of transformation now. Okay, a bit of transformation. Okay, so it failed. So let's check to see what happened. Okay, so I'm going to download this Excel file. And I would open it. Is it opening? Not yet. Let me go to download and open. Okay, it's coming up now. So we'll be looking at the error. So this is the troubleshooting aspects of the data flows as well. So this comes in very handy when troubleshooting the data flows. So as you can see here, it says, let me expand this columns. Okay, so we have some errors. Let's see. The status is failed. It was aborted. There was a problem in the data flow refreshing. Please review this. It says the destination table contains required columns that do not have source columns data mapped to them. Please edit the data flow and fix the problem and try again. So what I would say the problem is that after setting the alternate key on the table, okay, if you're also going to be loading the data, you should also go to the point of the mappings. Okay, so we'll go straight to mappings. And at the top area here, you will find the alternate key. So you need to map that alternate key. Okay, so here you can find it. So I'm going to click on the drop down. Oh, let me see. Key selection. What setting has been saved? So I'm going to reset this again. Control F, the publisher initials. Okay, so you can see the staff's unique key, the one we created. So I'm going to pick this and I'm going to select back the department, select back the point, select back the staff name. Yeah, ID number we will auto generate, so we don't need to map that. Rating is this one, final score, no final score, and that's it. So I'm going to publish again. Not all keys, columns are mapped. Let me see. This error shouldn't be. 1 second. Okay, this is not Dataverse to Dataverse. 1 second. Staff name to staff name. Let me try that again. Not select that. Okay, I think the alternate key isn't allowing me publish as expected for some reason. Okay, I think we'll check that later. Okay, so that's one with the importing of the data. Now let's try look at the aspect of transforming the data. So I've created some data, okay, because it's end of the year's grading for these staffs, and we want to have some ratings. We want to have some cycles looked at, for instance, the current year cycle. Okay, so if someone is having, let's say, a delivery expectation in, for instance, the communication, we want to see that, okay, so I think the solution is not fully published. Come on, come on, come on. Load. Okay, so if someone is having a score between this range, we want to have the person set to deliver an expectation. If someone is having a minimum or maximum of this, we want the person to be at this particular rating. Then if it's grade, if it's under grading, also some criteria has been set, okay, to also ensure that someone is graded based on the RAG status, red, amber, or green. We want to have that also mapped for that specific user. Yeah, so excellent. If it's in communication, the person having this ID should have this rating. I think there's a point attached to it and a RAG status as well. Yeah, so if someone is having a score of, let's say, 49, we want the person to be having green and also be excellent in communication. The person has amber in collaboration, or has 15, it should be this in collaboration. Okay, so so I haven't finished the ERD. Okay, so I will be able to show this extensively, like to the very end, but I'll show us the transformation side of it. So if we go back into our Maker portal, we can create, okay, so it's now successful. So we can create a new data flow, okay, and we're just going to call it something like EOY communications grading. Okay, and now the data is already in Dataverse. So if you know what data source we should use should be, okay, you can just put it in the chat. What data source should we use? What data source should we use? Now we have our data into Dataverse, okay? So you can, what data source should we use? Okay, to save our time, I'm going to simply connect to Dataverse, okay? And in connecting to Dataverse, there are several options, okay? So our data is already into Dataverse, so we don't need to go to Excel again. We can simply pick the data from within Dataverse. So I've connected here, and I'm going to simply hit the next button. And it's going to bring me to a point where I need to pick from the list of environment that I have access to. So I have access to all of this environment, but we are currently in the dev CE. So that's where our table is. So I'm going to pick this one. Okay, yep, configure connection, connect. And it's going to bring the list of tables that are in this environment. So the same way, you have your publisher. So that's the very easy way to do this. So just search for your publisher prefix, and then you will be able to find the tables that are created within that solution for the publisher. Okay, so I'm going to pick each of them. Okay, year cycle. I haven't finished creating the relationships between them, but we'll see how we can make this work. So I'm going to hit the transform data, and this will automatically bring us into the Power Query side of things, where we can then begin to make, oh, sorry, I think that went too fast. So I'm going to go back. Okay, So then we can see the data, okay, the tables that we've connected to. So in the communications data, there is nothing there because this will house the individual users' data. Then we have the grade settings. So we'll do some transformation here so you can see, we'll clean this up. The rating also has its own set of data that has been pre-configured. And also, when we get to the staff, we would see the record that we uploaded, okay, the data that we uploaded earlier. So we'd find them in here. Yep, so here they are. So we'd clean them up and for the year cycle. So let's start the cleanup from the fund, that's the staff table. So first of all, like I said, always rename, okay? So staff data. So this I would also rename to fiscal year. This I would also rename to grade setting config. Do I need this table? Because we'll be loaded into this table when we're done. So let me see. So I think we don't need this table at this point. So I'm just going to delete it. Okay, so we are going to do something because I hope I still have time. So we have some things that we can get to leverage as well. And there are things like using parameters. Okay, so parameters, remember that data flow earlier, I said it's also solution aware. You can move it from one environment to another. But how can you ease things up when having this migration being done? Okay, so part of the things that you can necessarily do is that you can add a parameter. Okay, so I'll click on, you right click here and you select new parameter. And then we want to have, so for example, if you are moving from one environment to another, which is what you would do for your solutions, you would want to have those environment URLs set. Okay, so here I'm going to just call this environment URL. Okay, and it's going to be of type, it can be of any of these types, but I want to use list because I would have multiple environment. Okay, then right here, so let me go get this environment ID. From anywhere you are in the Maker portal, if you click on the top right corner here, you will be able to go to the developer resource. Okay, and in the developer resource, you will be able to then pick the URL, okay? And it's this one right here. So I would copy this, okay? So let me duplicate this, change this to, let's say production, for example. Come on, come on. Okay, I think the page is frozen. So let's go back here and quickly dump this in. So we have our first URL, okay? So you just press enter, it goes to the next line. So if you have any other environment like the prod here, so what I'll simply do is also get the URL of the prod and then have it in there. Okay, let me assume I have the same syntax. I would confirm that later. So I'm just going to, 1 second, API CRM. Nah, it shouldn't have the API, but I think it still works. 1 second. Remove this PROD. Still loading. So I'll just go back here. So I'm going to check this later on. So this is the one we have. I think I'll later remove the API, but just to confirm, I know the one I didn't use the API, but let's see. Okay, so it's saving, and we'll see how we can apply this inside of the other tables that we have. Okay, so we have the environment URL. That's the parameter that we set. So I'm simply going to manage it again. Okay, there is a settings that for some reason didn't show up, which is weird, because I should set the default. So for some reason, it's not still showing that, which is weird actually. Let me switch to steps. Query script. Yeah, and yeah, it's primary. Yes, so I want to set the default. Yeah, so it's meant to show me these options, but for some reason it isn't. So I'll just transfer what I have here to there. List command. Okay, I think I'll do it via the query if that's not allowing me then. Okay, so I'm just going to come here. I think I have it already written somewhere, so I'm just going to do. And Rachel, please let me know how many minutes I have left, in case
Okay,
this will take
yes.
longer than expected.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. URL, double quotes. Okay, thank you. This is actually weird because it should just bring that up, but it isn't for some reason. On my other machine, it's bringing it up. Okay, equals this. Yes, primary key equals true. And parameter document ID equals true. Yep. Type list. Yep. Okay. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to close this with a square bracket. Then come on. So I'm just going to come back to the staff data. 1 second. Query returns outputs non-trivial simple. Okay. So where's the error? Okay, just do this because I know it works without the API. Cops. Still the same thing. Just a moment. Type text. Sorry, trying to figure this out on Power Query. It's done. Okay, so I think this will be troubleshooted in another session, but let me revert this. Let me just use this as text. It's kind of weird that the list option isn't allowing select the default value. Okay, we'll check that later. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this one. So coming to the staff data. So the essence of using parameter is so that you can come into areas like this and having your source not to be this specific value, so that when you are importing into multiple environments, you will be able to have just the variable, okay? And all you need to do is change that URL, that parameter in the other environment, and the changes would also take effect on the table. So you don't need to go in and have so many changes being done. This is just going to be the only change that you will do when moving your data flow across multiple environments. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this one here. It's this pound key. Oh, no, not that. envva URL. Okay, so once this loads up, we would begin the cleanup. Matches no exports. Okay, let's just come back in here. Yep, I think that was what was missing. Text list values. Yep, this was what was missing. Apologies on delaying on this one. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, so let's load again. So what's the syntax now? The import URL is not much. No export. Double quotes. I think the god of demo is really acting funny. Okay, no, this was actually what was set and works. Okay, let me check the other. Okay, I think we'll just leave out the environment URL. For some reason, it's still not getting it. Okay, I think this will be checked later on. CRM for the dynamics is absolutely correct. But if you want to get that, I think the best place to get that URL is to be in the admin center. Then you get that specific environment URL. So while that is loading, I think we can go back to cleaning up the environment. Yeah, so this is one thing. You would have to wait till it loads before you continue. Okay, so now we have all of this, and you can start by having things like choose columns. Okay, but you'd want to choose the columns that you want to see. Okay, so first things first, get rid of everything in here. And then I'm just going to pick the cycle year ID, the end date, start date, and the type. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. And then it opens up the columns with the values that we want to see. So as you can see, this is the year type and the type name. Okay, now can anyone guess why we have an ID here alongside the display name of the year type? Anyone? Okay, so we're using a choice column here. Okay, so that's why we have this cleanup here. So another thing is you should always rename. Okay, you should always rename, and as we keep renaming or as we keep transforming this data, you would see that our Power Query keeps increasing. Okay, it keeps increasing. So for a column that I do not need, for example, this year ID, for example, you could simply get rid of it. Okay, and then it's gone. So you would have just the columns that you would want, and then you can go ahead to start renaming those columns. So this is how you get to have some transformations being done. Okay, and also if it's with regards things like the staff data that now isn't displaying. 1 second. Okay, I have a few minutes left. Okay, so let's just do another cleanup of this one. So I'm going to be selecting some columns still. And this time around, we just want to see the ratings Number, the cycle, the year, what else? Yeah, stuff. So I'm going to click OK. Okay, so the interesting thing is here you would see that now we have the staff, and this is the reason why you'd see this is because it's a lookup column, okay? And you can drill into the lookup column to select the column you want displayed, okay? So for instance, if we just want only the staff name to display, then that's very much fine. You can have just staff name being displayed, okay? So if there is any staff that is having this scores in here, then or these ratings, then the record is going to then populate. But for now, it's null. Okay, for now it's null. So this is how you get to do the transformations. You can even have things like the group by. Okay, if you want to group some sets of values, you can have the group by. You can have the joins. Yes, I used that a lot. You can have the joins joining multiple tables together in order for you to have the value that is expected before you then proceed to load the data into your data source. And for doing that, most of the things that I get to do is I create a new query, okay? And in the new query, I will then have the multiple tables that I want inside of that particular query, okay? Inside of that particular query. Then in that way, you can have all consolidated values or all your transformations and the final output inside that last table or table that you will create yourself here, and then you can proceed to then map the way we did earlier to the destination table. So time won't permit. I would have really loved to do a lot here, but I think I'll just have to stick with that script. So to talk about some limitations with regard to this, if you're working with lookups, okay, or if you're working with choices, you would need to have the ID values of your choice columns, okay? It's very important because the name is just a label, okay? So if you are working, for instance, you have, let's say, current year, you have prior year, you have years over 2, and you are performing the grading for the current year, okay? There is a need for you to ensure that you are actually getting the grading for this current year. Last year, you could have, let's say, above expectations as one of the gradings or the ratings for last year. But this year it's changed. Okay. So in order for you to have the right choice or the right values being used, okay, if you're working with choices and you're working with lookups, okay, you should try as much as possible to work with the IDs of those columns. Then another thing is also when you're working with larger data sets, in terms of you being able to import millions of data or transform millions of data, you will need to have a lot of filtering being done. And you can only have 500K records execution in a single run. Like the refresh we saw, if the record you have or the data you have exceeds 500,000, it would run into an error. Okay, the first 500 will push through, then the remaining will not push through. So you might need to break, for instance, if you have about 2 million records to load into Dataverse, you can split them up into 4 data flows, okay, with their appropriate filters, like the first 500K, second 500K, third 500K. You can split them up, and then you can have your executions being done. Okay, so I think I'll have to draw the curtain here today. Sorry, I took extra time. So are there any questions? Any questions? Okay, so Rachel, I think in the absence of any question, let me look at the chat.
Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's meetup. I shared the link to a form in the chat. So please, if you can just go through the form, it will not it take you less than at least 2 minutes or a minute to fill it. Okay, so please just fill the form and let me know. Can you see I'm sharing my screen if you can see my screen. Hello? Can you see my screen? I don't know what screen I'm seeing.
It's coming up. Yes, I can see your screen. The
Slide.
D365, yeah, the slide, I can
Okay.
see it, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we have the community. So we have the So welcome to if today is your first time attending the Dynamics 365 Power Platform and User Group Malta, welcome. And in this community, we like to connect with ourselves because we are all learning. It's a learning journey, and also we like to share about different capabilities and opportunities in Power Platform, in Dynamics 365 CRM, in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation, and also in Dynamics 365 Business Central. So if you have any sessions that you would like to present, you can definitely reach out to myself or Funsho on Twitter or on LinkedIn. You can reach out to us. And also you can connect with the community on Meetup. You can just scan it. You can just scan this and join us on Meetup. So we are kind of everywhere. We are on Meetup. We are on Facebook. We are also on LinkedIn. We are on Twitter. And also we are on Reddit. So we are trying to just spread ourselves around and also make people aware about the community. So you can connect with us on the LinkedIn group. And we also have a WhatsApp group. So I don't know if you can share the link, please, to the WhatsApp group in the chat.
Let me see if I can get hold of that right now.
Okay, thank you. So you can connect with us on LinkedIn and also you can connect with us on Twitter. And please share about the community because we're trying to let people know more about the community so that they can join us and they can actually learn about Power Platform because we're very passionate about the community. We're very passionate about sharing our experience and also giving the opportunity for others to share their experience. Yeah, so thank you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And yeah, thank you. Usually we have our meetups physically. We have physical meetups okay.
Oh, sorry.
Usually, yeah, sure, no problem. Usually we have our meetups here in Malta at the Microsoft office, but for some time we are trying to check out the visual meetup to see how it works. So maybe you are in Malta or you're not in Malta, and maybe in the future you're planning to come to Malta to visit, so you can definitely check us out in Malta. Yeah. And our next meetup is going to be in September. And also, it's also going to be visual. So just follow us everywhere and we are going to be dropping information about the meetup. Thank you so much. And thank you very much for being here. So don't forget to please fill the form. Yeah.
Yeah, the link has been dropped in the chat as well for joining the WhatsApp community.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So bye everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye.